Get on the train before it leaves the station. The truth train is coming, gonna run them down,
All right, hello there, folks. How you doing? We're here today to talk about Brendan Dassey. Some really good news that came out today, and so I wanted to talk about it a little bit. Show you this article. This is from ABC2 there, WBAY in northern Wisconsin. It's a little article talking about the fact that Brendan's lawyers, Drizzen and Nyrider, have got together a group of folks, 250 renowned legal and political experts and advocates, and have signed an open letter to Governor Evers asking him to, and requesting that he does grant clemency or a pardon to Brendan Dassey. So that's interesting. So we're here to talk about that. Before I go to the rest of this, or further in this article, just to let people know, yes, we are working on the comprehensive appeal video. Travis and I are, working on that. Sorry that we had some real life stuff kind of crop up on us, and both of us ended up being out of town for a couple days. And anyways, so sorry about that, but we do have it kind of in hand, and we're gonna have that video coming very soon, just so you know. Other thing I want to say is I'm over the moon. We are going to have a new episode of 80 More Things by Finn and her co-host Julie Pompom. They are going to be having, I believe, well, I'm not going to ruin it, but it's somebody I like a whole lot, and so it's going to be coming out soon, so be watching for that. I will obviously be letting you know when it happens as well. And also Julie Pompom, but going back to the comprehensive video about Stephen Avery's appeal, Julie Pompom, the lovely Julie Pompom, will be the one who will be creating the slideshow for us, so the PowerPoint slideshow type thing for us. So that's going to be awesome. Thank you for that, Julie. It's much appreciated. And so that's going to make things very understandable, and me and give Travis and I the chance to go through and talk about things and explain some things and that sort of stuff. So, all right, getting back to the point of the video now. All right, here we go. So we're going to go ahead and go down here. In northeast Wisconsin, W-Bay, nearly 250 renowned legal and political experts and advocates have signed an open letter to Wisconsin's governor requesting clemency for making a murderer subject Brendan Dassey. The list of names included retired U.S. government officials, state and federal prosecutors, legal advocates, psychological experts, and exonerees. Notable names include Innocence Project co-founder Barry Scheck and Sister Helen Prejean. I hope I'm not saying that horribly. The anti-death penalty advocate's story is the focus of the movie Dead Man Walking. Each of us feels called upon by our own conscience to sign this letter. Many of us believe Brendan Dassey to be wrongly convicted, and his statements, which constitute the primary evidence against him, to be unreliable. Many of us believe that the process that led to the conviction of this 16-year-old special education student was indefensibly flawed, characterized by egregious defense attorney misconduct. And many of us believe that Brendan's sentence, life in prison, with no chance of parole until 2048, is wildly inappropriate. All of us agree that, after serving more than 13 years in prison and accumulating an exemplary prison record, it is time to bring Brendan Dassey home, reads the letter. Dassey, now 30, is serving a life sentence for the 2005 murder of Teresa Halbach in Manitowoc County. Dassey's defense team has asked Governor Tony Evers for two forms of relief, either a pardon or a commutation. A commutation would shorten Dassey's life sentence. The case shocked Northeast Wisconsin 14 years ago and has since garnered international attention with 2 seasons of Netflix's docuseries Making a Murderer. On October 31st of 2005, freelance photographer Teresa Halbach disappeared after a trip to photograph a vehicle at the Avery salvage yard in Manitowoc County. Investigators say they found Halbach's remains in a burn pit on the Avery property. Stephen Avery and his nephew Brendan Dassey were arrested and charged with Halbach's murder. In 2007, a jury found Dassey guilty of first-degree intentional homicide. He was sentenced to life in prison with a chance at parole in 2048. One of the key elements of the prosecution's case was a confession Dassey gave to detectives. Dassey's current legal team and critics claim Dassey's confession was coerced. Ooh, yeah, it certainly was. Dassey was 16 at the time of the killing of Teresa Halbach. His attorneys argue investigators used improper techniques while interrogating a juvenile with a low IQ. They say investigators made false promises to Dassey that he'd be released if he told them about the killing. No physical evidence tied Dassey to the murder. Dassey's attorneys believe he falsely confessed to being part of the crime. Not a single piece of evidence tied Brendan to this crime. No DNA, no blood, no hair, no fingerprints, nothing. Not in the Teresa Halbach's, not in her RAV4, not in Stephen Avery's trailer, not in the garage, not in the burn pit, nowhere, says Dassey's attorney Steve Drizzen. True confessors don't need help with their narratives. Dassey was nearly released from prison after a federal magistrate overturned his conviction in August of 2016. Judge William E. Duffin said repeated false promises by detectives, when considered with other factors like Dassey's age, intellectual deficits, and absence of a supportive adult, led him to determine that Dassey's confession was involuntary under the U.S. Constitution. And as we all know, the state appealed the federal judge's ruling. Eventually, the case landed in the highest court in the land, the United States Supreme Court. The justices declined to hear Dassey's argument. Brendan Dassey was a 16-year-old intellectually disabled kid when he was taken from his school and subjected to a uniquely and profoundly flawed legal process. That process rightly sought justice for Teresa Halbach, but it wrongly took a confused child's freedom in payment for her loss. Such a debt can never be justly repaid with the currency of innocence, reads the Clemency petition. In April, Dassey sent a letter to Governor Evers asking to go home. I am writing to ask for a pardon because I'm innocent and want to go home. If I would get to go home, I would like to get a job involving video games. I would like to help take care of my mom and one day have a son and daughter of my own, Dassey writes. I would name my daughter Grace and my son Mizar, which is the name of a star in the Big Dipper. National advocates for people with disabilities have also written a letter to Governor Evers in support of clemency for Dassey. Check out the ARC website. We have deep sympathy for the family and friends of the victim in this case, and we support appropriate punishment of all responsible parties. However, as Mr. Dassey's attorneys explain in detail in their clemency petition, Mr. Dassey's record is replete with evidence of intellectual and developmental disabilities and shows that he did not receive proper accommodations during the interrogation process, resulting in a coerced confession. He has now served nearly 13 years in prison based solely on this unreliable confession, reads the letter. The clemency petition states, Brendan Dassey requests that the board and governor grant him a full pardon on all three convictions. Based on the extraordinary circumstances shown in this application, Brendan requests a waiver of the rule limiting pardon eligibility and those who have already been released from prison. To those who have already been released from prison. A waiver previous administrations have permitted. If the board requires further information in order to consider this waiver request, undersigned counsel will promptly provide it upon request. Should the governor decline to issue a full pardon on these three convictions, Brendan asks at least for his freedom via a commutation of his remaining sentences to time served and no remaining supervision time. This board has not, to undersigned counsel's knowledge, adopted any rules limiting eligibility for commutations. Dassey has also received high-profile support from prison reform advocate Kim Kardashian West. To learn about that, go check out her on Twitter and that sort of stuff. Governor Evers recently granted clemency to convicted felons Eric Pizer, Kevin Sorensen, Wagi Vassar, and Stephen Nichols. I did a video about that for you guys may remember. Action 2 News sat down with Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul and asked him about the Dassey petition. I think it's important that the process be one that the governor considers the facts of this case, like he would any case, and that a judgment is made based on all of the relevant facts, says Kaul. There's been a petition submitted, but I'm not sure additional information will be submitted and that the governor will make an appropriate judgment when the time comes. He's not sure that the governor will make the appropriate judgment when the time comes. Interesting. So, the Dassey legal team says they have not exhausted their legal options, but they believe this is the best chance for Brendan's freedom. Never say never about our ability to go back into the courts, but the time is right and the governor has this power now, says Dassey's attorney Laura Nyrider. Wisconsin has a rich history of issuing pardons and commutations, and it's a tradition that this governor says he's going to return to. Dassey and Nyrider appeared together on a wrongful conviction podcast recently. I would advise people that haven't seen that or listened to that, go check it out. Dassey's uncle Stephen Avery is appealing his conviction in this case. Avery's attorney has filed a 32,000-word brief asking the Wisconsin Appeals Court to grant Avery a new trial or evidentiary hearing. And that will be the video that Travis and I are working on and should have for you guys soon about the appeal, the comprehensive look at Stephen Avery's appeal. So that's what's going on with Brendan. You know, he's got 250, really, influential legal minds and political minds and people, weighing in for him and continuing to sing from the mountaintops the merits of Brendan's, arguments and why his confession is coerced and on a bigger level, why our system needs to realize this at this point. And the fact that our system is resisting it is shameful. But I think with things like this, we're going to hopefully eventually start to move the needle and towards more of a balance. So, all right, folks, that's it for this one. I just wanted to share this news with folks. Be sure you go check out 80 More Things. Then episode 4 coming out very soon. You can stay tuned here, and I will certainly be letting you know when it's coming and that sort of stuff. Anyways, if you haven't already, please hit subscribe, and we'll see you.